time for Tiger Talk on the Tiger Sports Network. Tiger Talk, live from Tiger Club inside the Robins Center on the Fort Hays State Campus, is brought to you by these premier Tiger sponsors. Golden Belt Bank of Hayes and Ellis, banking one story at a time. The Hayes Med Orthopedic Institute, expertise, technology, compassion, all right here. Adams Brown, strategic allies and CPAs, going above and beyond for you. BTI, your John Deere dealer, with locations in Buckland, Great Bend, Greensburg, Hoxie, Ness City, and Pratt. BTI, our family in partnership with your family. The Taco Shop, dine in, carry out, or delivery. Since 1970, you've never had it so good. And Eagle, our community connected. Tiger Talk with the voice of the Tigers, Gerard Wellbrock.
Hey, good afternoon, and welcome in to Tiger Talk. Good to have you with us here as we talk some Fort Hays State basketball and wrestling as Fort Hays State gears up for a big road trip on the hardwood. And we'll tell you now, if you tune in for, of course you listen to the whole show, but if you're tuning in for a particular coach, we're mixing up the order a little bit today. We'll talk women's basketball first here in just a little bit with Talia Carr so you can get to practice, and then the Tigers can hit the road. Then we'll talk some wrestling with Eric Wentz, and then wrap it up with men's basketball coach Mark Johnson. Again, we're live inside the Robins Center on the Fort Hays State campus, part of Tiger Club. Again, you can join Tiger Club. Your membership goes to athletic scholarships for student athletes at Fort Hays State University. They can join us on Wednesdays for lunch and take in the program. Get more information by contacting the Fort Hays State Athletic Department. We'd love to hear from you. If you have a question for the coaches, all you have to do is go to the FHSU Athletics website, click on the fan zone. You'll get that drop-down menu. You'll see Ask the Coach. Submit your question. Again, if we use you, you'll have a chance to win a T-shirt from Fort Hays State Athletics. We had a question already sent in that we'll get to a little bit later on here in the program. Fort Hays State basketball, they'll be on the road this week. Tomorrow in St. Joe, taking on Missouri Western. That'll be a 5:30 tip for the women, 7:30 for the men. Our coverage at 5:05 on Tiger Radio Mix 103.3. And then Saturday afternoon in Maryville to take on Northwest Missouri State. That's 1:30 and 3:30 on Saturday. And again, both on Tiger Radio Mix 103.3. All right, let's just get right into it. We bring in head coach Talia Carr. The Tiger women get a couple of hard-fought wins over rivals Emporia State and Washburn. Kind of ended a 2-week run of rivalry week. You had Pitt State, and you had Kearney, then you had Washburn, you had Emporia, and you do well. You win all four, and nice wins. Kind of came differently on Thursday against Washburn and then Saturday against Emporia State. You knew they'd be tough games. They certainly lived up to that, but to give your gals credit, they were there for the challenge and found a way to win both of them.
Yeah, no, I think against Washburn we did a great job of just executing and getting really good shots. And then obviously we defended them pretty well, but I thought offensively we were better on Thursday than we'd been in a while, and just did a really good job of realizing what we needed to get done and making a really good pass and getting a really good shot. And then Emporia, they did a good job of mixing it up defensively and throwing some zone, throwing some man, which we kind of were expecting. And I thought we did a good job of just continuing to battle and continuing to match their physicality, and they were really physical, especially inside, and I thought we did a great job of matching that.
Got off to a great start against Washburn. I think you led 20-2 with about 2 minutes to go in the first quarter, and then got bit by that second quarter bug again, and they come all the way back to tie it eventually at 28. But you scored to go up 2 at halftime. That seemed to be important just to kind of calm everybody down, and then that third quarter was remarkable. You go on I think it ended up being a 24-2 run when it was all said and done with those final 2 points of the second quarter, and just really dominated from that third quarter on.
Yeah, I think we did so well executing that first quarter that we almost let down a little bit going into the second, and then we didn't get the shots that we wanted in the second quarter, and then decided not to guard a little bit too, and they came back and made a run at us. But we really came out in the third quarter and continued to execute and figure out where to get shots, and just took it home that quarter.
Yeah, and it was good to see. And it didn't happen Saturday, and we'll get into that. But for whatever reason, that second quarter's been bad this year. I know we've talked about it before. It's just kind of strange how that seems to happen in that second quarter for whatever reason. Shots don't drop or lose a little bit of intensity. And I'm sure if you could figure out why that's happening, you'd do things to try to prevent it. But it's just been kind of uncanny this season.
Yeah, no, part of it's subbing, and so I tried to adjust that quite a bit on Saturday, and I think hopefully we got that figured out. But we'll see. And part of it, you don't know. You can't. Some people get into foul trouble, and you just got to battle, and you got to fight through it, and somebody else has got to step up if that happens, and that started to happen a little bit in the second quarter, and so we just got to continue to battle through that.
We got a big game from Katie Wagner, really both games, double-doubles in both affairs. She hasn't maybe been shooting the ball as well from the floor, but boy, all those other things, and she still gets her shots, and she still makes her fair share, but the rebounding, the defense, the steals, and even the assists, it's been really fun to watch.
Yeah, no, Katie brings it every day, and she's going to guard as best she can on both ends, on that end of the floor, and then she's going to go on the other end, and she's going to cut really hard, and she's going to work really hard for the ball, and if she doesn't get a shot, then she's going to figure out how to get somebody else a shot, and it's somebody that everybody's got to figure out how to guard Katie Wagner, and I think that's what they're trying to do on the defensive end, is figure out how to guard Katie, and then somebody else steps up, and we have a different leading scorer about every game.
You mentioned then on Saturday playing Emporia State, new head coach and Coach Osterman, who's been around a lot of places. Colby Junior Community College as the head men's coach, and coaching junior college in Missouri, and then a longtime assistant at TCU and K-State. But I thought his team played well. They've got a really good team. They've kind of been, like a lot of teams, that up and down roller coaster, but they came out ready to play, and you had to like how your team responded after falling behind early. Never sensed a lot of panic, and they just kept getting after it and just kept grinding and found a way to grind one out, probably the best way to say it.
Yeah, no, in the first quarter they had a couple kids that made outside shots that don't usually make outside shots, and so that's something that you're just like, well, that's part of it, and you got to figure out how to battle back from that and continue to guard how we were guarding, and eventually they stopped making those outside shots, and we started making them make harder shots, and then we figured out how to attack their zone, and then they went man in that second half, and we continued just to figure out how to score on them. But with Coach O, you just never know. He's been around so long. You never know what he's going to throw at you, so you just kind of have to be prepared for whatever it is that he decides to do that day, and I thought the girls did a good job of recognizing that.
And it was good to see the second quarter go your way. You went on a 22-6 run going back to the last basket of that first quarter, and I think you even said when we talked to you after the game, well, we got rid of that second quarter jinx for whatever reason, but played well in the second quarter. That was really pivotal because it got you back in the ball game.
Yeah, and they played a little bit different zone than they'd been playing, and so I think it took us a quarter to figure out what that was going to look like and how we needed to get the ball moved into different spots. And zone's just an interesting thing where once you figure it out, you can kind of get a lot of easy baskets, and we kind of got that figured out in the second quarter.
Can't talk about this game without talking about Megan Ernie. 6 of 11 from 3, 20 points, 5 rebounds in the game. I think that's something of her game that kind of goes unnoticed. She's a pretty good rebounder, but obviously it's 2 Saturdays in a row. If you don't have her shooting the ball the way she did, you probably don't win, because you had it up in Kearney, and then you had it on Saturday. She hit some key ones that kind of answer what they were doing. Yeah,
no, I mean, Megan's a great shooter. Sometimes she just forgets that she's good at it, and I think that's a lot of times when a shooter goes through a slump, they forget that they can make some shots and that they're good shooters, and she's in the gym and she's trying to figure out what's wrong, and we're like, Megan, nothing's wrong. You just got to believe that you can do it, and once you see the ball go in the net, she can make and make and make.
I thought she did a good job, too, of could have maybe forced a few more and didn't, and got her teammates involved, and then and she had the hot hand, but it wasn't just chucking threes. They were all good looks within the flow of the offense.
Yeah, and that's the other thing about Megan is that she's a really good passer, and so she's really strong with the ball, and so they recognized kind of what we were doing in our offense against the zone, and then she wasn't going to throw it away. They took that away, and she did something different, and she just does a really good job of knowing where the ball needs to go.
Well, that was a big win, obviously, and anytime you beat an in-state rival, I'm sure you run into all of them when it comes to recruiting, especially the state of Kansas. When you win like that, and Fort Hays State's obviously had their fair share of success against the in-state schools, does that make a big difference on the recruiting trail? I'm sure that's something you sell heavily when you're trying to convince these kids to come to Fort Hays State.
Yeah, for sure. I think early on when we first got here, it was a grind to try to out-recruit those schools, and they were having a lot of success, especially at the national level, and Tony figured out how to get them here, and then slowly we've continued to start to beat them consistently, and so Fort Hays kind of moves up to the top of that list instead of being maybe third or fourth on the list, and we've seen that be a consistent thing in the last couple years.
Well, 2 nice wins. Always nice to beat the Ichabods and the Hornets, and now it sets up another big weekend on the road at Missouri Western tomorrow. Battle of second-place teams in the MIAA, and then at Northwest Missouri State on Saturday. We'll preview both of those games, but first we'll remind you that Tiger Talk brought to you today by the HaysMed Orthopedic Institute. It's the most comprehensive orthopedic care in Western Kansas. You can learn more at haysmed.com/orthopedics. More women's basketball with Coach Talia Cars when we return here on the Tiger Sports Network, built by PwC. Inlow to Salick, backdoor to Wagner. This time she kicks it over to Ruddle. A three-pointer, good! Emma Ruddle knocks in the right wing three for Fort Hays State. It's her first points of the game, and the Tigers are up 2, 29-27. That's some more of the action from Saturday as the Tigers knock off the Emporia State Hornets. Now gearing up for a big road trip as they head to St. Joe later today. They'll play Missouri Western tomorrow night, and then Northwest Missouri State in Maryville on Saturday. We again invite you to send us your questions. Go to the FHSU Athletics website and click on fans. You'll see the drop down and all the instructions there. We did have one in-house. Did want to ask you, there was a technical foul called, and maybe you do or don't know the answer. They called a technical foul, and then it was waved off, and the officials used to be really good about explaining stuff. They've kind of quit doing that. Do you have any insight as to why the technical foul was waved off on Emporia State in that, I think, second half Saturday?
I think the one ref was trying to have the other refs back, but he thought she cussed at him. And I don't know how he thought he heard that because he was clear on the other side of the floor, but he thought or assumed that she cussed at him. And then after they discussed it, they realized she didn't cuss at him, and so they took it back, I guess.
Interesting. I mean, I guess kudos if it didn't happen what you thought, but just I don't think I've ever seen a technical rescinded in a game before. So there, get a little insight on that. The only other thing I could thought of was if the assistants were up, but maybe timeout had been called, it was already a dead ball, so it wouldn't have warranted one. We did have an in-house question. How do you prepare for your team for the other team's change in either offense or defense from what you scout? I guess more in-game adjustments. Obviously, you thought Emporia or whoever's going to do one thing. They come out totally different. How do you prepare for that, and how do you go about getting whatever implemented changes you need in?
Yeah, the nice part about our league is that everybody kind of does a lot of different things. And so for the most part, we've probably prepared at some point through our season for about everything. And so for this week, for example, so last week we were preparing because we knew Emporia would probably play zone. Western this week hasn't played a lot of zone lately, has in the past been known to play us zone. And so it's nice because I don't have to work on zone a ton this week because we worked on it a lot last week, but knowing we've kind of been doing it recently, and so I'm not as stressed about, okay, I got to figure out all these different things because we've been doing it. And so I think really we've kind of prepared for a lot of different things. Northeastern ran, a lot of people, it's called a triangle too. So they're a zone with 3 people and they're a man with 2 people. And so we've seen a lot of different things. And so we've got a lot of different things up our sleeve. And so if something gets thrown at us, we might need to call a timeout and say, okay, they're doing this. What do we need to do here? And go about it that way.
I know you're limited on time sometimes, but and you get into the grind of the season, you're preparing for Western and what you think they're going to do, and same thing for Northwest for this week. Do you take time just to work on just random things throughout the season, knowing you might see them?
Yeah, I think once maybe we failed at something, then I really try to focus in on it, like, okay, that really didn't work, and so we'll take the time to work on it the next week or whatever that looks like, and just trying to kind of be prepared for whatever, and hopefully what our goal is and what our plan is works.
To remind you, the Kansas Department of Transportation and the Drive to Zero Coalition invite you to join Tiger fans with a plan. If you're going to be drinking, always designate a sober driver. All right, Missouri Western tomorrow night, battle of second-place teams in the MIAA. They're obviously playing really good basketball. They beat you here. It's kind of been a series, I think, the last 4 or 6 on-campus games. The road team has won. You played well, got a win there last season. Obviously, there's a lot riding on the line, even though you have a whole month of regular season basketball to play. But this is a big game tomorrow night.
Yeah, it really is. No, talking about last week, I feel like I'm a bad student, and I took the test last week, and I've completely forgotten about Washburn Emporia. Now I'm thinking about Missouri Western, but
that's okay.
They're a talented team. They can score at a lot of different places, and a lot of different people show up kind of like we do. And so you got to be prepared, and our kids really have to know about each player and how they should be guarding each player, and that's crucial. And in the last game that we played them, we did a really good job of guarding them, and there was about 5 possessions in the second half. We did a really bad job at guarding that tendency, and then that was the difference.
And you said they're so talented, can score in so many ways. And let's face it, this has become a bit of a rivalry here the last few years with the run they had to go to the Elite Eight a couple of years ago. And I venture to say there's not a lot of love lost between the two programs, which makes it kind of fun and interesting. But obviously this is important for both teams. Do you have to, I don't know, worry about your team getting too hyped up and too emotional in a game like this when there's so much on the line and just the past history, just to try to, hey, calm down, let's just go play basketball?
Yeah, it's funny because like 5 years ago it was Emporia that we were just kind of going after, and so the kids on this team, it's Western. Western's a team that they want to be, that they're fired up for, and so I don't think I worry so much about them getting too hyped up, especially going on the road. I think that's different too. Playing at home is a little bit different. We can get a little amped up and a little nervous, and there's a lot more pressure playing at home. But when we go there, I feel like we play with a little bit more confidence, and we've done a good job when we've played at their place, and so I'm hoping that our energy and our excitement for it ends up in our favor.
Well, and Northwest on Saturday. I know all your focus is on Thursday night against Western, but good team. For a while looked like they might contend. They had a few blips in the road, but they battled you here. They battled really everybody tough. They're another good team. I mean, both these games are going to be challenging in their own way.
They really are. Yeah, after they played us, they kind of went into a little slump, and they're back playing really good again. They beat Central Missouri last week, and they're playing really good basketball again. Very spread out as far as scoring, and they do a good job of. They have that one guard that plays pretty good, and then after that it's pretty balanced. And so you kind of really, again, have to know everybody's tendencies, know who you're supposed to be guarding, know how to guard that person and how we want to guard them, and it comes down to that again. That
should be a lot of fun tomorrow night. Missouri Western, Saturday afternoon, Northwest Missouri State. Coach, appreciate it. We'll let you get back to practice, but thanks for taking some time out here to preview the games, and we'll see you in St. Joe tomorrow night.
Thanks, Jared.
There you go. Talia Cars, head coach of the Fort Hays State women. Again, 5:30 tomorrow night in St. Joseph against Missouri Western. Tiger Talk brought to you in part by Golden Belt Bank. Your life has a story. Golden Belt Bank wants to get to know that story. Golden Belt Bank of Hays and Ellis. Visit them at goldenbeltbank.com. We'll talk some wrestling with Eric Wentz when we return on the Tiger Sports Network, built by PwC.
The Golden Q is the place for football and food. Friday night, when your team is out of town, stop in for your favorite burger and watch the game, plus catch every NFL game with the NFL Sunday Ticket. Want to enjoy the game from home, but still eat the Golden Q's tasty food? Use their app to place an order to go or use DoorDash. Then when it's time to blow off some steam, head to the Fort, duck pin, bowling, axe throwing, VR, and check out their huge outdoor patio. Book a party room for your group or host a large gathering at the Fort. The Golden Q and the Fort in Hays.
Levy over to Ernie. Another three from Megan. Hammers home. Megan's hit her third three of the day. She has 9, 50-43. Megan Ernie has been big these last 2 Saturdays off the bench for Fort Hays State. She pushes their lead back to 7. Yeah, one of the threes from Megan on Saturday. One of the 6 Tigers beat Emporia State and now get set for the road trip at Western and Northwest Missouri State. Time now to talk some wrestling. Head coach Eric Wentz joining us. Tigers had a good week last week at Newman, and then a couple of matches on the road in Warrensburg. Congratulations. Obviously took care of business. Got to be really proud of the way your guys wrestled to bring home three dual victories.
Yeah, because we didn't really know how those duels were going to go,
yeah.
And it's great to have a guy like DeAndre Brown who can really set the tone for you in all those dual meets, because he went out and he's got the attitude that we're looking for. Wrestles with a little bit of a chip on his shoulder. When he gets fired up, I don't know if there's anybody that can beat him right now. He's on a roll, and to have a guy start out at 125 who will go out and put it on guys right out of the gate, that's big for us to get set the tone for the rest of the dual meet.
Yeah, you did. You did well in that first one to find a way to get the win, and we talked about it. It's kind of become a bit of a rivalry with them, an in-state wrestling opponent, and you've done pretty well against them. But as we coached with Coach Cars, it has to go a long way when you come to recruiting and all those different things. When you can beat those guys, especially on their home mat.
Oh yeah. It's always they do a good job down there. Our dual meet, when we go in their place, they always have a youth dual meet before our dual meet, and and then they have all these. There's like 30 or 40 little kids that they give these clappers to, these inflatable things that have lights in them, and they turn the lights off, and they're all beating these things while our dual meet's going on, and let's just say it got kind of quiet after a while.
Yeah.
But it was good dual meet for us, and unfortunately there was about a 12-point swing there at 141. Drew Bell, he was in complete control of his match at 141, and just found that the guy the guy he was wrestling lives and dies by being kind of funky, and the guy caught him when Drew was on top, putting him on his back, looking for a fall. And somehow the guy caught his head and his leg and stacked Drew up and got the defensive fall when Drew was on top in complete control of the duel. And so he was pretty bummed out after that, but he made up for it on Sunday. So. And
then after that match, I mean, you only lose the one at 165. You win pretty much everything the rest of the way after that. And then those guys did a good job really all weekend of taking care of business on the lower half of the ticket.
Yeah, Cody Hicks dropping that match to Jace Fisher. Jace is ranked 7th in the country, and he's got a really good shot to make a run for a national title, and so we knew that was going to be a tough one. And Cody was coming off the flu; he'd had the flu most of the week leading up to that, and so he was. You could tell it was the bear jumped on his back about halfway through. But the rest of the weekend, man, we just we really turned it on and went out with the intent to put bonus points on the board, and that was the biggest difference. We talk about it every day. To get the way you win determines how the dual meet's going to go, and if you can score bonus points, whether major or tech fall or get a fall, that's really gonna make or break a dual meet.
Well, Ouachita Baptist, Central Missouri on Sunday in Warrensburg, and you talked about that. You win 15 of the 20 matches that day, 14 bonus points win, and 10 pins. That's just a pretty good formula.
Yeah. It was. I've been coaching a long time, and I don't know if I've ever had a team get on that kind of a roll in one day in dual meet format. Where it started with DeAndre. DeAndre goes out against Ouachita, and I'll tell you what, Ouachita stepping on the scale. They're put together. They know where the weight room is, and but our guys just went out and they were like, we have to get on these guys early, because if we don't, we might be in trouble just because looking at their physique. And they went out and did their job. They went out, they dictated the pace, scored first, put guys on their back, and they didn't let them up.
Yeah, and I mean, and Central Missouri after that a little bit more competitive, and would be understandable. They're nationally ranked, but again, got off to the good start. 125, 133, 141 all win, and then you have your guys at the back end to kind of close the deal for you.
Yeah. Kevin Honus came up big there. The guy he was wrestling was stepping in. They had a nationally ranked guy at that weight. He was out of the lineup, but this guy came in and he put it on Kevin early. And we keep telling Kevin he's a little undersized for the weight class. He normally was 125-pounder last year, and you just got to keep wrestling because you got to use your conditioning to get to keep matches going. The longer the match goes, the better off he's going to be. And he got out of the first period, he scored a reversal right at the end of the first period. And I looked at Coach McKiernan and I said, he's going to win this match. So he's down 7-2, but he's winning. And the guy chose down, and as soon as the guy made one big effort to get off bottom, and Kevin Matt returned him back down, and as soon as that happened, Kevin slapped the crossface cradle on, rolled it through, pinned him. The kid was done after that. He exhausted himself in the first 3 minutes, and Kevin just kept wrestling the rest of that period. And when he got that reversal and came out on top, I knew we were going to be in good shape. And Drew Bell coming out the next weight class, he's one of those guys, he feeds off the guys in front of him. I mean, that's what he's used to. He's a Hoxie kid, which is what they, they just dominate everybody at the 3-2-1A level, and they feed off everybody else. And the guy he pinned in 30 seconds is Division I transfer.
Wow.
Transferred in from Edinboro, and Drew goes out, dictates the pace, scores the first takedown right to his back, and doesn't let the guy off the hook. So, but they were tough in the middle. We lost a close one at 49 with Marcel. That kid had just the night before beat the Kearney kid, so that's going to be another key matchup next week. And Hunter Harris wrestling a tough opponent. Cody Hicks, wrestling the number 12 ranked guy in the country, and keeping it to a major, but the guy lives and dies by again being kind of weird. And Cody was in on his leg attack a couple times and just couldn't finish, and the guy would end up coming out on top. But for the team, the back end of the lineup to come up big, and Juan Urbina, that ruined his opponent's senior night, with a fall in the minute 21. It was big for him to go out, and he dictated the first 30 seconds, and then immediately threw the guy to his back with a nice headlock, and didn't let the guy off the hook, and that's the name of the game. And feel bad for that guy a little bit because it was a senior night, but Juan, but yeah, a little bit, but Juan just went out and dictated, and but then Terrius did his thing against a real solid opponent, who's in and out of the rankings. The guy's a legit All-American candidate for Central Missouri, and Terrius went out, took him down 11 seconds in, and just put a hard ride on him and turned him and got the major. But then you got Tony Caldwell capping it off. Man, what a big day for that guy. Pinning the number 9 ranked wrestler in the country, it really dictated the pace. And they were all fired up, and they had a big crowd, and they've got about 50 guys on their roster, and they were all there in the stands, and it was great. It was an awesome day for us.
Anybody else stand out? Talking about this being a somewhat young team, it looks like those young guys just continue to get better and better and better as the season goes.
Yeah, that's what we got to keep stressing is, a lot of our lineup is inexperienced, but, if they believe in their skill set and they believe in their conditioning and they believe in their teammates, that's the big thing for us is when we're in the right mindset, we can go out and we can dominate anybody, I believe.
Well, you get a little bit of a break here, and you're not back in action until the 9th, and you look at it, you're down to 2 duels, and then it's regional time. It's amazing how that happens as we start the new year, and obviously 2 challenging matches. It'll be 3 straight against nationally ranked opponents.
Yep.
You'll have Kearney, and then you'll have Central Oklahoma, and obviously we'll talk more about that as it gets closer, but just maybe a week out preview. They're obviously cream of the crop, not only in the conference, but the region and the country.
Yeah.
Some of the best programs, but with that is great opportunity.
Yeah, that's the way we got to look at it. We're coming off, and I told the guys yesterday at practice, we're on kind of a high. Our trajectory is going up right now, and some of these other programs, their trajectory is going the opposite direction. It's been a long season. There's a lot of teams, they're getting to the point where guys don't want to cut weight anymore. They're worried more, and they're worried more about making weight than getting better at wrestling. And then our philosophy is, we're not going to cut a bunch of weight. We're going to focus on getting better every day, and I think that's what's starting to pay off. Is our guys, they're shocked right now that their weight is where it's at. They're only two workouts away from making weight, and some of these other schools you hear horror stories that all they're doing is cutting weight, and they're not focused on getting better at wrestling. And so now we're on this trajectory upward where some of these teams are coming down. You see guys getting hurt all the time because they're all cutting a lot of weight, and that's not our philosophy. So these teams are trying to bring us off of our high right now in these next couple duels, and we got to go in with the attitude that we're going to keep moving up while these other teams are kind of on their downward trend.
How you guys health wise at this point of the season? I know you've had some nicks and bruises throughout the course of the year. How are you doing right now?
Yeah, the guys that are in the lineup are good. We're focusing a lot on recovery right now, and again, the weight, not doing a whole lot of weight cutting helps with the recovery and the injury prevention. So right now we're looking pretty good. I'm hoping the sickness that we had going through last week has made its way through, because if we wrestle like that after a couple guys coming off the flu bug, imagine what we look like when we're all healthy. So
yeah, it's going to kind of bring that. Do you change as the season goes along how you train because of just the grind of the season, just so you're as close to 100% as humanly possible this time of the year?
Yeah, early on our practices are 2 hours, a full 2 hours of constant movement and teaching, a lot of teaching. Now we're at the point where we're picking 1 or 2 things a day that we need to work on, spend 15-20 minutes on in the room. But then it's just we're going to be crisp, and the practices as we get into our duels next week and then going into the regional, our practices are going to last maybe an hour and 15 at most. It's going to be high paced. We're not going to do a whole lot of live wrestling because they've done enough live wrestling. Now it's a matter of making sure our fundamentals are perfect and our conditioning stays where it's at, and that we're 100% or as close to 100% healthy as you can be going into that national qualifier on March 3rd. So short practices, clean practices, very little live wrestling to make sure that our body bodies are feeling good.
Sounds like a great plan. Well, great job last week. That was a fun week for your guys, and hopefully, you said, a good week of recovery, and then we'll delve deeper into number 7 Kearney and number 1 Central Oklahoma when we talk to you next week.
Sounds great.
All right, appreciate it. Eric Wentz, head wrestling coach at Fort Hays State. And again, those 2 duels will be at the Coliseum on Friday the 9th, and then obviously the week the 17th will be that final one with number 1 Central Oklahoma. Tiger Talk brought to you today by the Taco Shop. Whether you order by phone, use their handy app, dine in, carry out, or delivery, you've never had it so good. The Taco Shop, they've been a Hays tradition since 1970. More straight ahead on the Tiger Sports Network, built by PwC.
Ready to discover something new? The next time you're in your car, tune your radio to 94.3 FM.
It's here.
It's Hays' greatest hits.
Love it.
On 1400 KAYS and 94.3 FM.
94.3 FM, KAYS. Go ahead, check us out.
Spins in the lane, out to Jaheim, 4 to shoot. Holden attacks the rim, pivots, shoots from 15. He knocked it in at the horn. Jaheim Holden didn't panic, has his second bucket. 44-41. Fort Hays State on a 9-1 run after that 12-0 Emporia State run. Yeah, some of the action from Saturday. The Tigers finish off a good week, knocking off rival Emporia State. Prior to that, they had a nice home win over the Washburn Ichabods on Thursday. Welcome back to Tiger Talk. We're talking men's basketball now with Coach Mark Johnson. First, need to remind you that FHSU Athletics invites you to join Tiger fans with a plan. If you're going to be drinking, always designate a sober driver. Tigers beat Washburn on Thursday and then got a nice hard-fought win by 5 over Emporia State on Saturday. 2 hard-fought games. We talked with Coach Cars. 4 straight games of rivalry contests, and of course the game on Thursday with Washburn, battle second-place teams, and you know, kind of dug yourself a hole. They came out on fire, but as we've seen this team do so many times, they kind of dug in a little bit, got that defense cranking up, and you hit some shots, and that was nice to see. And you got a big win over a really good basketball team.
Yeah, and on top of it, it's the only time we're playing them.
Yeah.
You know, we don't play them twice this year, so you only get one chance at them, and you feel like hopefully at the end of the year you're going to be one of those that are battling for an opportunity to keep going, win them, whether it be conference championship or NCAA tournament. So when you get a chance to play them, you definitely need to come out on top. First half, we did a good job of taking away the 3. We just couldn't stop the Orr kid inside. And he, like we said before the game, he's the best underneath the basket player we have. I thought the second half we held him to 2 points, and I believe he hit that in about the first minute or 2 of the second half, and we shut him out. So credit to our guys, Sean, Connor, B, I think all took turns a little bit guarding him. And then, like you said, we were finally able to make some shots, which we haven't been able to do most of the season. We ended up making 10 threes. Caleb made 6. And that's obviously a big deal when you can do that. And that's really what got us separation. How you build leads is you got to, get a stop, get a score. You can't just keep scoring and never get a stop, and it works the other way too. You can't just keep getting stops and not score. Now, when you keep getting stops, at least you feel like you're hanging around and eventually the tide will turn. But, yeah, it was really nice to see the ball go in. And I think some of our struggles this year, honestly, and it's hard to believe we're going out on the road again. It just seems like we have not been at home very much. And you always, you feel you're going to shoot the ball better at home than you do on the road. You're comfortable with the rims. This is the gym you shoot in every day. So, we have a lot of home games coming up here. I think after this week we got 5 out of 7. So hopefully our percentages continually go up as we're playing on our home floor.
Well, I thought it was key, too, that you were down 8 in that first half. You made that run before halftime to get to within a point. I thought that was important to had the momentum going into that halftime. I had a chance to take the lead. Missed a shot there at the horn at point blank range, but to get right back in that game going into halftime, it seemed like a pretty big deal.
Well, you're being kind. We missed 2 shots there.
Well,
right
you did. Okay. I just kind of lumped them into one.
And the missed putback. But, yeah, no, our guys – and, again, that's so important. Every time you're falling behind, how you close out a half. The first 5 minutes we've gotten off the positive starts, 10-2, things like that. Like I said, sometimes when you get on the road it can be a little scary, but the first 5 minutes aren't nearly as important as the last 5 of the first half and the first 5 of the second half. That's where you're behind. You can get yourself in the last 5 minutes back in the game and give you momentum going to the second half. or you have a 5-6 point lead and you can close out the half and get that up to 15 and things like that and come out at halftime. So really always feel like the last 5 and the first 5 of those halves really make a difference, and that was the key. Like you said, we got ourselves back in the game.
And then a 20-0 run in the second half doesn't hurt the situation.
Yeah, we got a lot of stops, and then I think we said we hit 10 threes. I feel like a lot of them came in the second half, and our guys are really doing a good job. You look at the next game with B had 7 steals, and I mean our guys are giving ourselves. We're doing a great job not turning the ball over. I think we're either first or second in the league with fewest turnovers per game, and then we're almost, I think, leading steals. I mean, we're getting like six more possessions per game, which sometimes the way we play, we got to have those 6 possessions, and our guys are doing a good job with that.
Yeah, I think you hit 4 threes in that 20-0 run that kind of got you over the hump, and you go on to win it 71-58. And then Saturday with Emporia, and we talked about it, and they've had injuries. They've had, their depth has been depleted. They've got a couple guys who haven't really, one hadn't played at all, one they're counting on hasn't played a lot. So that's kind of changed the trajectory of their team. But when you look at teams that are projected to do well and then maybe don't, that's a lot of it. But, man, their starting 5 is good. They showed it, and you had to really battle for this one, as you knew you would, and it seems like that's always the case against these guys.
Yeah, they're top 6. They're starting 5, and the big 6'10" kid off the bench is a good player, and he's active. He changes things. He rebounds. And, a little bit like what we're going to face tomorrow, we embarrassed them last year at their place. Our guys just took the fight to them, and they couldn't respond. So you knew we were going to get their best shot, kind of like what happened to us at Pitt. Pitt, same thing last year. We embarrassed them with our toughness and effort, and they didn't respond very well, and I know that was a big point for them when we played them, and they gave us fits. Same thing with Emporia. Now, except Western when they played here early in the year, and again, we're going to have to come and match that again tomorrow. But yeah, our guys, like I said, the 7 steals by B and just getting the steals late in the game was really big. We hit some big shots. You got to get stops. You got to make good. Sometimes the ball just has to go your way. We had a bank shot at the end of the shot clock. And I don't know if Elijah would be making the road trip physically right now if that shot he took when we were up 2 with his foot on the line didn't go in. So, I mean, again, that was, that you got to have those things happen. And the thing about Elijah right now, he's really playing with confidence. He's really attacking. He's being physical. And he's really starting to come into his own. And I think he's really playing well and making us better. And now you got him and Caleb, and I think Jaheim the same way. Jaheim is playing really, really well. You get RJ. I don't know if RJ will play more than 20 minutes throughout the rest of the year, but again, feel like those guys, we have a lot more depth than a lot of people, and we don't have to rely on necessarily 1 or 2. Obviously, Caleb doesn't really come out the game. We rely on him a lot, but the other guys, like I said, Jaheim, they all do something different. Jaheim can really pressure the ball, make it hard on the other team. The point guard, he can get to the rim. Obviously, Caleb does a lot of stuff. Elijah's a physical guy on both ends of the floor and all that, so I like the way those guys are playing right now.
Yeah, Jaheim's just pesky. I mean, I'm sure opposing guard, I mean, he's just always there, and even though maybe his offensive numbers weren't as big on Saturday, he never let their guards have any easy possessions, and it seems that that's what he does every time out.
Yeah, he really, Jaheim has come such a long way in his first month with us last year. He has such quickness in his whole life. He can get around his guy every time, so he's constantly on go, and that really he was struggling last year, the first part of the season. Then he kind of figured it out, and he broke his foot and couldn't play the rest of the way. I really think he's done a really good job, and that's what you like to see, guys like him that come in and buy into what we're doing and change their game to fit. And again, he's just like the rest of the guys. Jaheim is more concerned about winning than he is anything else, and it's good to see.
And Elijah, first career double-double, 10 rebounds, and that's an aspect, obviously, that's huge, and especially when you're out on the road trying to win against tough teams. If he can continue to, maybe not 10 every game, but rebound the way he's doing, that's going to be big.
Yeah, I think him and Caleb had 17 rebounds combined the other night. They're both, I think, averaging over 5, which was career best for both of them. They're really doing a great job rebounding. I think probably part of it is not having Jared Vitchtam there. Because Jared would get very upset if they would try to take a rebound from him.
He was there on Thursday.
He wanted his rebound, so I think maybe at times they're a little hesitant that he would get mad if they went in there and got it. So, but they're doing a great job being a defensive, getting to the defensive glass and limiting people people to one shot.
Well, that was very respectful of the elders for them to do that for Jared, the old guy. Fort Hays State gets both wins, and now big week starting tomorrow in St. Joe or against Missouri Western, and then obviously the big showdown against Northwest Missouri State on the Saturday. We'll talk more about that when we come back. Need to remind you, Tiger Talk brought to you by BTI, your John Deere dealer. Locations in Buckland, Great Bend, Greensburg, Hoxie, Ness City, and Pratt. BTI, our family in partnership with your family. Back with more Tiger Talk with Mark Johnson right here on the Tiger Sports Network, built by PwC.
That was another legend on 99 KZ Country. And yes, before that, we had a brand new artist. Your home for today's stars and the legends. We play real country. I'm Teresa Trapp. Weather, news, sports, it's all here. We're on Facebook, and there is a listen live link at HaysPost.com. Dial us in on your radio at 99.5 FM. KHAZ, Real Country. 99 KZ Country.
Long between his legs, spins to his right, stops, can't shoot, out high to Evans. Evans stumbles, pivots, shoots, though he passes it and threw it away. Picked off by Jansson. B races into the front court and is fouled. Yeah, that kind of wrapped it up. B had his 2 free throws, his 7th steal of the day, and the Tigers knock off Emporia State. Now on the road for big ones tomorrow night, and then again Saturday afternoon at Missouri Western and at Northwest Missouri State. Welcome back to Tiger Talk, our final segment with head coach Mark Johnson. We'll get to those in a little bit. We did have a question for Coach Cars, and we'll pass that on for you as well, about in-game adjustments. How do you guys go about that when you prepare for Western? They come out in something totally different than you expected. How do you go about, adjusting some of that stuff on the fly?
Yeah, I think that's really scary when you play teams early in the year that do something different. Usually by this time of year you faced about everything to some degree, and your players are familiar with it. In basketball, you sometimes you can't really make a lot of adjustments till you get to the timeout, and sometimes you don't want to waste the timeout if you don't have to, because there's not a ton of them. But like I said, by this time of the year, I think our guys know we pretty much feel comfortable with what you're going to do, and just like most teams, I think most programs, most coaches, that doesn't happen very often. You're kind of comfortable with what you do, and you do what you do. Now, we very rarely, outside, like I said, maybe a zone that they're struggling to play against you and man, but other than that, there's not a whole lot of stuff. And we guard personnel. I don't know how some of these programs, I think, guard actions, like they work on guarding certain actions each game they play. We just work on guarding personnel, and we guard actions every day in practice. So like I said, it doesn't matter what team we're playing, whatever action they run, our guys know how to guard it. Now we're just more concerned about how do we guard that person that's doing that instead of worrying about what they do.
All right, Missouri Western, and you kind of touched on it earlier this year. You played them, maybe your best game start to finish of the entire season. Certainly that first half was impressive, but they're a talented team. They were ranked number 22 in the country until they lose 2 games on the road last week, so the quality of an opponent that is. And a lot of people anticipating Saturday afternoon. It doesn't mean nearly as much if you don't find a way to get it done on Thursday night.
Yeah, for sure. Each game counts as one. You don't get 2 wins for beating someone else or 2 losses. I mean, every game matters as you're playing. And, I think it was one of our best performances we've had in recent memory. I mean, we were really, really good. Everybody was so locked in. We played extremely hard, played well. Sean Riley arguably might have had his best game of his career that day. So we played really well. We jumped on them, and they didn't play very well. And like I said, they're going to come out, and they're a physical team, and we got to get to 3-point shooters without letting, like I said, Thames and Fields really do a lot of damage at the rim. Their big guys starting to play better and make some threes that he did not at our place, so we might have to worry a little bit how we're guarding him.
All right, should be a lot of fun, and it all starts tomorrow night at Missouri Western. Coach, really appreciate it, and we'll see you in St. Joe tomorrow.
All right, thanks, Gerard.
There you go, head coach Mark Johnson of the Fort Hays State Tigers. Again, 5:30 for the women, 7:30 for the men on Friday, tomorrow night, and then Saturday, 1:30, 3:30. And of course, you can sync up our radio broadcast with the MIAA TV network feed. Listen on the TuneIn app, and then if whichever device is ahead, the video or the audio, you pause it to the opening tip, and then you can sync it up and listen to the radio call with the MIAA TV network. Tiger Talk today brought to you by the Hayes Med Orthopedic Institute, the Golden Belt Bank of Hayes and Ellis, BTI, and the Taco Shop. We'll see you again next week. That'll wrap it up here on the Tiger Sports Network, built by PwC. Voice of the Tigers, Gerard Welbrock, inviting you to join us for Tiger Talk Wednesday afternoons at 12:10 on KAYS. The show is part of the weekly Tiger Club meetings live from the Robbins Center on the Fort Hays State campus and brought to you by Golden Belt Bank of Hayes and Ellis, the Hayes Med Orthopedic Institute, the Taco Shop, and BTI, your area John Deere dealer. That's Tiger Talk, live from Tiger Club Wednesdays at 12:10 on 94.3 FM and 1400 AM KAYS.